Um, so I had did this episode here where I was talking about this post that's sitting here next to me. And I watched the video the whole 24 minutes just now. I just finished watching it. I was kind of distracted because, like I said, I had somebody on the way. I had a young lady on the way over here, and I was kind of like thrown off my square a little bit, I think. And I kind of forgot to mention a few things that I wanted to say about what I had to say here. So if you watched the last episode, it's just a continuation of that. I'm sort of amending what I said because I sort of forgot to talk about the love aspect of this thing. And when I made this post here, it wasn't it wasn't necessarily inspired by love because it kind of covers all sorts of relationships. It's not just about love. And I didn't want people to think that because when I say, so I'm going to read it again. I stay to myself a lot and I observe, and what I see is a bunch of people, male and female, craving connection and love, but too afraid to give it due to the fear of being used, disappointed, or humiliated. I see people misguided into believing they have unlimited options. So they discard people like waste and smoke people like cigarettes. So instead of nurturing relationships and pouring into people that could potentially be great for them, they dwell in fear and dish out hurt before they themselves can be hurt. They choose the fleeting because it requires less of them, doomed to repeat because nothing is being learned and no reflection being done. Now, this was inspired, sort of the initial thought was sort of about love, but it's not just that. Because as I talked about in the last video about this very post, I talked about relationships and community building and all those sorts of things. It's like it's really just generally about the way that we uh, deal with people because we're all operating in fear. We're afraid of pouring ourselves into someone uh, because of the possibility that we may be disappointed or used or it might not be reciprocated, and then we don't want to look stupid and be embarrassed or whatever, what have you. People have their reasons for why they're so guarded when it comes to dealing with people, and I talked about how I think social media has a lot to do with that because I think it's put a veil between you and I so that we don't relate to each other as easily as we once did because we look at people as sort of like disposable. We look at them as temporary, like they're cigarettes, something you smoke, burn it, and throw it in the garbage. But I did want to cover the love aspect of it. As a young man, I'm single. I've been dating for years now, where I've dealt with dozens of women over the last 4 or 5 years, um, and it's fun. It can be fun sometimes, and not all the time am I looking for something serious. But one of the things that I run into, it's not new. It's not new. I don't think this is something new, but I do think that it's sort of exaggerated because of social media, the state of the world that we live in right now, where you're dating people and people are sort of there are a lot of things. They're sort of like what's the word? They're sort of like indecisive. They they are yeah, they procrastinate around the choices that you put in front of them. A woman could, what is this? Oh, a woman could have um a great man available to them, right? But then they'll know another boy that really does something to them, right? It's something about him. Even though he's a piece of shit, he might treat you bad or he's a cheater, but it's something about him that sort of makes you tingle inside or something. And with that, you sort of you pussyfoot around making a decision that could change your life, in a way, finding your husband or finding your wife. I mean, I'm not saying men don't do it, but I can only speak from a man's perspective because I don't fucking date men. When I date women, I think that's one of the things. And I'm not just talking about me. I have friends that I talk to about their dating experiences and the way that women move with them. It's not any different from the way that I experience women, you know. it it's a lot of they're not sure about things, and they want, you know, it's like you don't want to give up your cake. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Well, that's impossible. You know, they don't want to make a decision about someone because they're, it's like FOMO, the fear of missing out. You're afraid that you're going to miss out on an opportunity for some better guy that could hypothetically be coming around the corner any day now and give you and check all the boxes. But I'm here to tell you, gang, there is no such thing on either side of the aisle. There is no perfect woman that's coming. You know, there is no perfect man that's coming for any of us. Because as long as I've been living, all the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that I've met, dealt with, and interacted with over my lifetime, I ain't never met not one single perfect motherfucker anywhere on this green globe. I haven't done that. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it looks like. You know, I've never met Superman. I've never met, you know, Mr. Perfect. I don't know where they are. You know, I've never met Mrs. Perfect. I don't know where they are. You know, everybody's flawed. Everybody has their shortcomings. They might check 99 of the 100 boxes, and that one box that's not checked, it might really bother you a lot. But, bro, we as a people have to learn how to deal with other people or be by yourself and stop bothering people. You know, I think I'm on Reddit, right? I'm on Reddit a lot, especially like those are my bedtime stories. I get into bed and I sort of watch. I mean, I scroll Reddit and I read Reddit, and I'm a part of like marriage groups or advice groups, and even in the groups that are not marriage oriented, a lot of times the uh, the posts are still somehow about relationships or marriage. It's like that's what people talk about. Um, Sorry, I was telling another young lady that I'm recording, so my responses are delayed. But anyway, um, you know, people like talking about their love lives. It's just what people talk about. So I read, you know, I'll come across posts all the time where it's like, a man and a woman have been married for 8 years, and then all of a sudden, the wife or the husband switched up and started acting weird or doing something out of character, and they sort of get complacent and they start taking things for granted, right? And they start acting as if their partner is never going to go anywhere despite what they do. You know, and I call it the thing that I've been saying a lot lately is people lose the plot, bro. When you got with this person, you were grateful and thankful to have met them. It was something that filled the void in your life in a way that you have been waiting and wishing and hoping for. You know, at least I hope this is the way you felt. And then you decided to marry this person or at least be in a long term relationship with this person. But as time goes on, your needs change, and the things that you're appreciative and um, grateful for have changed. You lost the plot. You forgot why this person was important to you. So you drift away. You get comfortable. You get complacent. You get annoyed with this person. You start hating the way that they chew and all sorts of shit like that. And then here comes the deterioration and then the inevitable breakup. I mean, and I don't believe anything should last forever. The nature of the world is that nothing will last forever. You know, if you should be married until you die, then that's a beautiful thing, but it's rare. You know, it's kind of rare a little bit. But I'm saying all this to say that, you know, we get complacent in our situations, and we start to treat that other person as if they're just disposable. You know, I don't really care. This is the way people start feeling like it's like, well, whatever. Like I'm tired of this. I want something new. I want to feel rejuvenated. I want to feel young again, and I want that spark. And that's why if or whenever I get married, I want it to be understood on both sides that you are going to go into your marriage and there are going to be times where you are tired of each other and that you might not be happy. That's just the reality of marriage. It's a reality of a relationship, period. Even it doesn't matter whether it's platonic or not. You're not always going to gel and see eye to eye with everyone forever. And there's going to be a point in time in a marriage where things get boring and there is no spark. You might not be dating because you two are locked in. You go into the marriage with this goal, like we're about to get married and we're about to hustle and build an empire and we're going to get rich. We're going to buy some properties and become landlords together. We're going to have these 3 children and it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be powerful. But the things, people aren't realistic about the journey through those things. There's a journey. You have to get from point A to point B. And in between those 2 points is a whole lot of shit that is unpredictable and not so savory. You have to go through the periods of time when you have a kid where you two might not have as much time for each other. How could you? Something has to give. You're 2 married people with no children, and then you add 1, 2, or 3 children to the mix. You are not omnipotent, all-seeing beings. You cannot be in 2 places at once. You can't be in 3 places at once. So if your child requires attention, raising, rearing, teaching, diaper changes, feeding, whatever, rocking them to sleep, dealing with their cries and all of the sorts of shit that we all know as parents you got to go through, how could you not expect for your time available for your partner to decline? And both people have to have their eye on the prize to understand. Just because it feels bad and I feel disconnected from this person right now doesn't necessarily mean that it's doom and gloom and that I need to go and file for divorce. You might go through 10 years like that. A marriage is a lifetime with someone. You become symbiotic. You become one being in one household in 2 different bodies. You might go through a 10-year stretch while your kids are growing up and becoming of age to be more self-sufficient before y'all can link back up and get together. You know what I'm saying? People lose the plot, though. You have to be honest about where you're going and what it's going to take to get there. And if you're not built for it, then stop playing with people and stop getting married to them. Divorce. People are just filing for divorce as soon as things get difficult. I don't want to go through the difficulties. Well, you shouldn't have ever got married then, because getting married, it's signing up for difficulties. I got some stories from friends that I wish I could add to this to give context. It's not necessary, and I would never do that. I would never do no shit like that. But it's just people are selfish, man, and people are short-sighted. People, they're walking around this life and they're in this dating scene and they treat the dating scene like they're walking through a Kroger with a basket and they're just picking up people and putting them in the basket. And then I don't think I want this. And then they just keep putting shit back on the shelf. And they're putting shit in the basket and putting more shit back on the shelf. And it's like, damn, how long you going to do that? And then in my experience, I've dealt with these women that have these incredible expectations. They want you to be a Superman. They want you to be a follower and a leader. They want you to listen to them and tell them what to do. But you better not tell her what to do, because then that's misogynistic and it's abusive or whatever you want to call it. But then if you don't lead, then they're like, well, you should have led because you're the man. And how come you didn't have a plan? And how am I supposed to institute a plan if nobody a part of the plan is fucking listening to the plan? How am I supposed to do that? You want me to lead you to the promised land, but you're going to fight me the whole way and say, no, don't grab me by my hand and lead me nowhere. I am woman. Hear me roar, head ass. How am I supposed to lead you somewhere and you won't listen? How am I supposed to follow you and lead you at the same time? How can I do that? How can I protect you and you won't shut the fuck up and listen to me? Have you ever seen a security guard guarding an artist and the artist won't listen to the fucking security guards? How am I going to save your life if you keep doing shit that I told you not to do? How? How am I going to do that? You keep jumping out into the middle of the street like you playing Frogger, and I'm trying to bodyguard you. How am I going to bodyguard you? When you're suicidal, how am I going to do that? You can't have it both ways. And then women will pawn a man off and say, well, you ain't shit. You know, you just an abusive, misogynistic, controlling, jealous, insecure ass man. And I'll go find me another one. And then they go from man to man to man to man to man to woman. And then they want to be gay for 3 years. And then they be like, oh, I think I like dick. And this woman is crazy. I've had women literally tell me that. Like, yeah, I'll eat a little coochie, but these women is crazy. They controlling and they are manipulative and they're delusional. And then it's like, oh, what a motherfucking surprise. You know, you got to see on the other side of the fucking aisle. But anyway, you know, they go from man to man to man to man until they're 40 years old and they're washed now, you know, like an old rapper. And now they want to settle down and get a nigga to, you know, now you want to play ball. You know, but you've been discarding people and treating people like they're just shoes to try on at fucking Foot Locker. And you're just trying on shoes and putting them back. You're just smoking people like cigarettes and flicking them out into the street. Until then, you look down in the pack and there ain't no more fucking cigarettes left. You got one cigarette and it's all bent up and fucked up. The filter coming out of it. You don't even know if you're going to be able to light this motherfucker. And then here you are, 45 years old and 70 pounds heavier than you was when you was writing tight. And now you want to pull this last cigarette out. Now it's like, yeah, I know how to listen. I'm ready to get married. Now you're ready. You know, you could have been married much younger if one, you would have shut the fuck up, and two, if you would have just stopped treating people like you had infinite options. That's how people treat each other. They treat people like there's always another one in the box. There's always another one in the box. I don't got to deal with you. I could just go get somebody else. I was in a relationship and that's how I felt like I was being treated. It's like, you know, there's always another one. I could find another nigga. You know, I don't got to put up with this. The motherfucker tell me, you know, they enjoyed feeling protected. They enjoyed being provided for. And this is her telling me this to my face. You know, I enjoy this and I've never had this before. And it's kind of awkward because I don't really know how to behave in this situation. I don't know how to let go. I don't know how because I've never had to before. I've never been able to before. And now I have you. And she's like, it kind of seems like you're making me more feminine. I'm not making this up. This is a conversation we had in her car driving up Gratiot. If you're from Detroit, there's a big ass avenue, about a 6-8 lane highway in Detroit or in Metro Detroit, all through Metro Detroit, called Gratiot. We're riding up Gratiot. And she's like, you know, I think fucking with you, like I'm kind of becoming more feminine. And I'm like, duh, bitch, this is what I told you 8 months ago. If you would just shut the fuck up and let go and stop trying to control everything, if I do my job, it would make it easier for you to fall in line and do your job. That's why it's like yin and yang. I do my part, you do your part. I am the negative, you are the positive. And we work together in unison to make one complete being. That's the point. But how can I play my part when you're constantly coming over and micromanaging me about what I'm doing and you're not understanding your job? How could I do that? You're operating in fear and I'm operating in fear. Neither one of us are functioning the way that we're intended to function. God did not make a mistake. You are a woman, I am a man. We're almost polar opposites of each other. Not quite, but almost. The role that you play, realistically, I could never play that role. I don't know what it is about feminism that has you women thinking that you could play the role that I was ordained to play. I was chosen by God to do what I do. It isn't by accident. It's not because of social engineering. It's because of biological engineering, a divine engineering. It's something that I was literally born to do, born to be. And if the woman is so afraid of letting go because she's been in this scarcity, she's been in this survival for so long that here I come, I'm just telling you what this woman told me. The first man of my kind to enter her life and to make things as easy as I did. Here I come. She says, I've never dealt with a man like you before. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to let go. I don't want to let you pay my bills because I feel like I'm relinquishing too much power to you. It feels like I'm losing control of something. This is what she told me. Here I am. You're on the phone crying to me about a DTE bill. For those of you not from Michigan, it's just like Con Edison. It's our energy company here. DTE. She's on the phone. I'm sitting in a hotel lobby in France. She's on the phone with me in Michigan crying about a bill because she doesn't know what the fuck she's going to do about this bill. While she's crying on my phone, I pick up my phone, I go to my Cash App, and I send her more than enough to pay the bill. She gets the notification while she's crying, and she looks at the phone, and she says, I don't know what she said. I think she just started crying again. And I'm like, just pay the bill and shut up. That's what I said. And I said that because it was like a joke, but I wanted you to understand that you're not going through that shit by yourself. You're worried about these things. Nigga, if you would shut the fuck up and put some of that weight on my shoulders because they're built for it, you wouldn't have to worry about that shit. But here we are 2 years later, and she never learned how to shut the fuck up. She didn't learn that. She didn't learn how to shut the fuck up. Now, I'm not saying I didn't have any flaws because I certainly did. But she discarded me like everyone else discards people, and all the other women have discarded me because she feels like there's another one in the box. Now, here this woman is that told me to my face, I have never fucked with a nigga like you. I met some of her people 2-3 days before we broke up. I met her best friend's mom. I looked her best friend's mom in the face, and she was like, so tell me about yourself. Where'd you come from? And then I told her a little bit, and I was like, she ain't never fucked with a nigga like me. Guess what the mama said? The mama said, oh, I know. We in Atlanta, in the middle of a club. And I looked her mama in the face and said, she ain't never fucked with a nigga like me. And the mama said, oh, I know she hasn't. And I was like, oh. No, it was only surprising, not because I didn't think that she would agree, but I didn't think that she would admit it. I didn't think that she would agree out loud, or I didn't think that she would have the balls to admit something like that, because in my experience, women don't like admitting shit like that. I said, she ain't never fucked with no nigga like me. And she like, I know she haven't. And I'm like, damn. A few minutes later, the best friend, that mama that I was talking to, her daughter comes up to me and she was like, I don't care about nothing as long as you take care of my best friend. And was like, I like you. She was like, I like you a lot. And I was like, shit, I like you too. But because this girl couldn't shut the fuck up, because she didn't know how to let go, because she didn't know how to be a follower to a nigga that was a fine leader. I'm a great leader. I know what the fuck I'm doing. I've always been that. I've been prepared for this since I was a little ass boy. And now I'm doing it, and I do that shit with flying colors. She didn't know how to follow me. Do you know how powerful a marriage can be between two people that are seeing the same fucking goal? How powerful is that? I don't got to explain nothing to you, and you don't got to explain nothing to me. We just lock in and we get the shit done because we know where we both want to end up in 20, 30 years. I don't want to be working. I don't want to be standing in front of no fucking Walmart at 65 years old greeting motherfuckers as they come in here to steal some shit. I don't want to do that. I want to be laid up with my wife wherever the fuck we want to be on this earth while we have 15 properties wherever we want them to be making bank every month. I want to have a fucking subdivision of properties that we can own together with our names on all that shit. Building an empire for our children so that none of us have to do shit. Do you think wealth is built by single men? It can be, but I guarantee you, wealth is much easier built in a marriage where two people can work towards a common goal. I mean, isn't two greater than one? Last time I checked, two is double one. So if you have two motherfuckers working towards a common goal, wouldn't you be able to go twice as far or 10 times further? Because it's exponential. It's not just double. If you have two people working on one goal, it's exponential. It'll be 10 times more powerful than it would be for one motherfucker to work on something. Because now you got four sets of eyes that can see shit from two different directions. Now I have two incomes. Now I have a female and a male energy. Now I have, all the tools I need to negotiate with different people during business deals and all sorts of shit. If we're about to buy a house from a woman, I can send my wife to go talk to her. That way I'm not intimidating. That way it doesn't seem like I'm trying to strong arm her. Now she can talk to somebody that she relates to, and you can get the deal done better than me because you're a woman that knows how to speak her language better than I do. Or if we're buying a house from some man who's this tycoon, no bullshit type of guy, I'm pretty sure I would be more better suited to go deal with that because I can match his energy. Whatever. A team is much more powerful than an individual all day long. And in a marriage, one thing that both people tend to always not realize is that it isn't just a marriage between you and her. It's a marriage between your families. Your family provides you with resources and a support system that if we are married, I can then pull from that and you could pull from my side. If I know a notary or a lawyer or somebody that does taxes or whatever, you can use the resources that I was born into. And I do have notaries and tax people and all of those things literally in my family. But because motherfuckers don't know how to shut up and they lose sight of the goal, they lose the plot so easily because all they think about is short-term gratification, short-term goals, only the things that are right in front of them. They treat people like fodder. They treat people like options, obstacles. They treat people like you are in the way between me and my satisfaction. I want some dick, so I'm going to destroy my life to get it. A nigga put up a post that says some shit like, a man will sacrifice his happiness for his family, but a woman will sacrifice her family for her happiness. And boy, if that shit ain't the motherfucking truth. I wouldn't have believed that shit or agreed with that post if I had never gone through the things and seen the things that I've seen. I've seen it. A woman will say, well, I decided over the last couple seasons that I don't love you anymore and I want something to make me feel young and fresh again. So fuck you and the kids. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go get as much dick as I want and I'm going to destroy you in the process because you are the bad guy in my story, because you're in the way of being in between me and that. So I'm out. And let's just erase my experiences from the equation. I sit on Reddit every day reading these stories from people telling the same story. The woman went to an office party. Our marriage was perfectly fine. I've never cheated. She's never cheated. I've never hit her. We weren't even fighting. It wasn't even a bad time in our marriage. And the woman went to the office party, and a guy that she had a crush on from the company said something, and she fucked him. I just read that 3 nights ago. She came home, was acting weird. I asked her what was wrong. She said nothing. He said they were in the house for days, and she kept acting weird, and he knew something was off, but she wouldn't say until she eventually folded and imploded and through her tears told him the truth that I don't know why I did it, but I fucked the dude at my office because I've had a crush on him for some years. What? And I think he stayed. I'm not saying men, fuck, I'm not, fuck your feelings. I don't got to explain. I'm not explaining. We don't got to do that. But boy, y'all know how to treat people like nothing. And then you get around 40, 50 years old. Now you're trying to fuck the young nigga up the block just to feel something because you've ruined all of your opportunities with love all through your life, throwing people to the side because you find and it's 1,700 niggas in your inbox and you just can't stop fiending for attention. You in a happy relationship, still posting pictures of your titties. If my boat is full of fish, what the fuck am I still fishing for? I'm done.